Hey, 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 all my lovelies. So, I want to tell y'all a story about my beautiful children. So, have y'all ever went through something and not really understood what you were going through when you were going through it? But then a couple days, a couple months, a couple years later, you understand, like, oh, that's why I did that back then. That's why we went through that. Or that's what that was for. Well, that's kind of how this is. I have 3 beautiful children, and they are all 3 amazing in their own beautiful way. And I just wanted to let y'all know and explain to y'all their names and how I have understood how their names impact my journey in my life. And again, I didn't think about this stuff. I did not think this stuff out when my children were born. Like my oldest, for example, my niece helped pick his name. And I was like, yeah, I like it. It's cool, you know? And then my other one, my middle one, his dad heard the name and liked it. And I was like, okay, you know, like it wasn't something I really thought out that deeply at the time. But now I understand how deep it truly was. Even if I wasn't consciously making that deep decision, subconsciously, it was a super deep decision that was going to impact me later. And it is something that I can look back on and appreciate and see that I have had support the whole time, guiding me and helping me become the best version of myself, become the best mama that I can be for these beautiful children, to raise them into the best versions of themselves that they can be. So my first, I had him at a very young age. You know, I was a teen mama. I bet a lot of y'all can relate. I know I had several friends, classmates in high school that were pregnant at the same time I was. Let's see, I had him, I was 17 when I had him. I turned 18 2 weeks after I had him, and I graduated high school barely. I graduated high school about 4 weeks after I had him. He was in the stands cheering his mama on. His name is Zayden, and Zayden means spark, fire. And he is definitely the spark and the fire that I needed at that time in my life. He was the only thing keeping me going at several points in my life at that time. He was the spark, the fire that really lit the love inside of me. You know, like I tell people all the time, I thought I knew love until I had a kid, because it's just a whole different, it takes it to a whole nother level. And I have friends that are already grandparents, and they tell me the same thing, like, you think you love your kids, wait till you have grandkids. And I'm like, oh, I can't imagine, you know. But my son, my firstborn, he definitely took my love to another level. He was definitely the spark that kept me going, and the spark that ignited the love inside of me. And so my oldest was my spark that set the fire to start me on this journey to be a better version of myself. Like, I could not even imagine where I would be without him, because he kept me in line. There were so many nights that I cried, and I just knew that it was me and him against the world, because I had him and I knew he relied on me. And so it was just me and him, and he kept me going. And you know, like, I'm the mama, right? Like, I'm the one that's supposed to keep him going, but little did I know that he was the one keeping me going. And so I didn't have another child for 9 years. I waited a long time because I was like, I wanted to be ready. I wanted to be ready for this one, you know. And not that I wasn't ready for my first, because I definitely got ready, but I also had to mature and grow up super quick. You know, while all my friends were partying and doing what a 17-year-old does, I was making bottles and changing diapers. But again, I would not change my experience for anything. So 9 years later, and he wants me to cut his hair right now. He's bugging me to cut his hair right now. So I gotta make this video. I gotta snap while the baby's sleeping. So 9 years later, fast forward 9 years, I had my second baby boy, Emmanuel. And at this point, me and my husband were very strong into religion, into Christianity. And we were going to church faithfully every Sunday, every Wednesday. And we had actually got invited to go to a family member's church. And normally we would go to our church, but we got invited to go to this family member's church. And so we kind of woke up kind of late that Sunday. And so we were like, hey, yeah, like, let's take them up on the offer, because their service starts later. And so that's what we ended up doing. And hold on, let me shut my door because my boys are fighting. Y'all better behave. Sibling rivals. Anyways, so that was another thing. Like, I'm thinking, oh, they're 9 years apart, they'll get along, they won't fight. Oh my goodness, they fight. Ooh, it makes me so mad. But anyway, so we went to this church service at a different church. And right before we went to the church, my husband went and picked up my oldest son at a friend's house. And it was around Christmas time. So, you know, around Christmas time, they play all the churchy music. They play all the Christmas carols and whatnot. Just a different season, different music, I guess. And so he had came back and he had heard a song in the car, and he said that it was called Emmanuel, and he really liked it. And like, when he told me, I was like, oh, Emmanuel, like, that's really like old school, babe, you know. And so like, he really liked it. And so I was like, okay, like, I'll think about it. And the whole time we were at church, I couldn't really focus because I was thinking about, like, my husband wants to name my son Emmanuel, and I'm like, I don't know. And so I was like, no, that's too old school. Well, then during the worship, they played a song that was Emmanuel, and so we just both looked at each other, and I was like, what? And my dad was like a couple people between us, like probably like 3 or 4 people down from us, and so he was like, y'all better handle it, and that is rude.
He just snatched the remote out of my hand.
Zed and Jace.
I'm not a liar.
Just stay away from them. See? They fight. So anyways, my dad was like 3 or 4 people down the pew from us, sitting down from us. And so at this moment, like, he turns and he's like, hey, have y'all, you know, I'm like, I don't know, probably like 7, 8 months pregnant. He's like, have y'all figured out what y'all are gonna name the baby yet? And we're like, no. And he asked this question right when that song came on. He didn't know about that prior to us pulling up to church. We had heard that song, and my husband said he wanted to name him that. And so then I have even more to think about. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I am a firm believer in signs, like the universe giving you signs. And once you truly believe in signs and wonders, like, they show up everywhere. And I am a true believer in that. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a sign. Like, we have to name him Emmanuel. But then, like, through the whole church service, you know, like an hour and a half long, I'm like talking myself out of it. I'm like, no, it wasn't. It really wasn't. No, it was something else. It meant something else, right? You know how we do that when it's not what we want to hear. We try to talk ourselves out of it. Well, that was me at that time. And so that was that. By the end of church service, I had like almost talked myself out of it. And then they play a couple worship songs like at the end. They play the songs, and then the pastor came back on stage and he goes, no, we're gonna play one more song. Somebody needs to hear this. guess what they played? Emmanuel. And I was like, oh my gosh. So now we're really freaking out. We're really looking at each other. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe, you know. Well, then a couple of weeks go by and I talked myself out of it again, but then it kept showing up on TV, it kept showing up on the radio, it kept showing up everywhere. And so I was like, okay, babe, we got to name him this. So my middle son, his name is Emmanuel, and Emmanuel means God with us. God is with us, right? And so that's beautiful because you know, again, now I'm looking back, and of course God is with us, you know, but also God is within us, and the kingdom of God is within us. We have to find it for ourselves. And so it's just a beautiful meaning, a beautiful transition, and it just shows part of the journey that I was on also. You know, my first son, my firstborn, he was the spark that lit it inside of me, that lit that fire inside of me, because God is love, right? And so he was the spark that lit that love inside of me. And then my second, 9 years later, it was a confirmation that God is within us.
Mom,
And then
he's not going to play with me.
that's Emmanuel. That's Emmanuel. Y'all better behave. Figure it out. And so yes, Zayden, the spark, the fire that lit it inside of me, lit that love inside of me. And then Emmanuel was the confirmation that God is within us. And then, let's see, 2 years ago, my baby girl was born, and we named her Aaliyah Love. And not even knowing at the time, we just liked the name. Not even knowing at the time, but found out later that Aaliyah meant to rise up and to ascend. And it's just so beautiful, like how even through my children's names, how this process has shown how much growth and how much love there is. That the signs are everywhere, guys. Just pay attention to them. And I know not everyone's story is going to be the same as mine. You're not going to maybe be able to see it in your kids' names, but maybe any other way, you know, maybe in certain items that keep showing up or whatever. Like, the universe is constantly trying to talk to you. It's constantly trying to give you confirmation and give you encouragement. You just have to be open enough to see it. And so yeah, I just wanted to share that with y'all, like the beautiful story of my children, how you know, that's how the universe has spoke to me and continues to speak to me and make me a better version of myself, because I could not do this by myself. You know, my husband calls me a super mom or a super woman all the time, but it comes from within. It's something that's so much stronger than me. It's something that's so much bigger than me and so much more powerful than me. It is part of that love, that life force energy that is within us all. And I just want to encourage y'all to reach out and find that within yourself. And the signs will all be all around you. So yeah, again, my oldest, the spark of love that sparked that fire, that love inside of me. My middle one, that gave me the confirmation that God is within all of us. And my baby, Aaliyah, that we're supposed to rise up. We're supposed to ascend. That is our purpose, guys. We're supposed to evolve. We're supposed to evolve into something that is greater than our previous version. We're supposed to learn from our experience, and we're supposed to evolve through love, through our experience, and through our lessons. So I just want to encourage y'all to choose to change to improve to evolve. I'm Lucy, and I love you all. Peace. Oh, like and subscribe if you feeling the vibe.